freshness,
Excited.
staleness.
I'm very excited.
It's been a while, Bobo,
It's been a while.
since we've had, like, you know, fresh blood,
Fresh blood.
new peeps,
New peeps. We like it.
walking out here.
People who haven't heard our jokes.
People are not tired of our crap.
Yeah.
They might not like our crap to start with.
Yeah.
They're not tired of it.
True.
They can't be tired of it. They've just barely seen it. And yeah, it's old fast.
Yeah.
But not that fast.
Right. Right.
Let's hope. Fingers crossed. Ladies and gentlemen, we're super excited to invite to this stage, her first time on this stage, visiting you people. It's Cat McNamara!
Talk this way. Walk this way. Talk this way. Walk this way. Talk this way.
Wow, that was a great song to walk out to. I'm not sure I've lived up to it fully. Thank you guys.
Well, so far you've walked this way, so I would say yeah.
Well, we were thinking Walker. You know what I mean?
I love a pun. I love
Walker
a pun.
this way kind of thing.
I'm into it. Super into it. Thanks,
I think she
y'all.
got it. You're welcome.
She got
Thank you
it.
for being here.
Yeah, of course, thank you for having me.
All right.
Hi, everyone.
Have a blast.
All right, Vegas, have fun.
How's it going? So as they said, this is my first time at a supernatural event, at a Creation Con event. So thank you for having me. Thank you for coming, and I can't wait to answer your questions. What is it? Oh, there we go. I'm sorry, I'm trying to see out here. You're here. Amazing. Whoever has the first question, go for it.
The mic over there,
Mics are
far sides.
over there. Oh, now I see. Hi, I'm blonde, so it takes me a minute sometimes. Hi, how are you?
So we'd like to welcome you. We're very excited to have people from Walker come and join us. You're all part of the family.
Well, you know, I had to come check out my great-great-great-great-grandson and make sure he was holding down the fort okay.
Just wanted to hear maybe about your experiences on Walker. If you could tell us any kind of funny stories, anything that sticks out to you.
How long do you have?
We know who you work with, so there is definitely stories.
Oh, there's many stories. No, that's what's so wonderful about Walker Independence is we basically have a playground and the best playmates to work with. You know, the cast and the crew is so utterly incredible, and we very quickly linked as a family and became very obsessed with each other and with each other's work, as I'm sure if any of us have seen our social media, you know. So, but it's really lovely to be able to build a world and build a town with people that are all on the same page and really working toward the same goal. I'm trying to think of any especially funny stories. During the pilot, we the big scene that happens at Hagen's at the end when, you know, there's the show with Kate and Abby's about to shoot Tom and all this other stuff is happening. We did that all overnight. It was our one night shoot during the pilot. We started probably about 5, 6 p.m. and ended at about 6:30, 7 a.m. We were so delirious, and just there's so many pictures of us just draped on top of each other, just in various sleeping positions. I think I fell asleep standing up at one point during a take. I don't know, but we we made it through, and that was such a grandiose way to end the pilot, which, you know, we didn't know if we would ever get to do this again, and thankfully we did.
Hi, I'm a big fan of the show. I am thoroughly enjoying. I watch it every week, and one of the things I really love about the show is the costuming and the wardrobe. I think everybody just looks phenomenal. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about your wardrobe, if there's a favorite costume that you have, what it's like moving in those heavy dresses and riding horses with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I could talk about the costumes on Walker Independence all day long. Our costume designer, Marion Toy, is a brilliant, brilliant artist and an amazing human who, she not only dedicated herself to as much historical accuracy as she could when it came to the fasteners and the shoes and to each, you know, character's fabric and what they would have been wearing, and even, you know, the color palettes were so characterful for each person. But just the way that she went about designing things and thinking about not only our practical daily life on set, being in corsets and boots and skirts and et cetera, but also the care she took with every single detail of every wardrobe. I had a full fitting with her where she and her team had created it was the dress that I wore in episode 2 and 3, I think, that had the pattern. It was sort of the first pattern dress that Abby wore. They took every stripe in that fabric and made different ruffles with it. And so I had an entire fitting with Marion where we just sat and tried all the different ruffles on every part of the dress, just because she was so dedicated to making sure it was the right way and the right amount of detail, and that, you know, there was such a character progression. But there's a costume house in LA that's been there for over 100 years called Western Costume. And so she had a team there that would source things from their costume catalog. So we had vintage pieces, some of which were extremely old and very delicate, and we had to be very careful with, but then mixed with the things that she and her team designed. And it made for such a rich history and a rich palette for our wardrobe. And it's really, really fantastic. I'm hugely in awe of her and her work every single day. Hello.
Hi, Kat. You talked about creating the Walker world. I wanted to ask you what it was like working with Stephen Amell and coming into the world of Arrow as it was already established, and what it was like to join that cast.
What's interesting about that is I loved working with Stephen, by the way. He really was a father figure to me in that world, and brought me in and took me under his wing, and, you know, taught me the bowstrings, as it were. But it's interesting, when I first auditioned for Arrow, I didn't know what I was auditioning for. I mean, I knew I was auditioning for Arrow, but I got these things called dummy sides, which they sort of disguise the character and disguise the sides when they don't want to reveal what character is coming or who this person actually is. So it was, I think the character's name was Jessica, and it was a rookie cop with a dark past. It was about all I got. And that was until I signed my contract. That's what I thought. And then I got a call from Beth Schwartz, who was the showrunner at the time, who said, "Hey, we're so happy to have you on the show. Everything you know is a lie. You're Oliver and Felicity's daughter. Welcome." And I went, "What? Excuse me, hold on, what's going on?" Because I knew what a huge deal Felicity was and how beloved it was to the fandom, and the fact that, you know, I was the personification of this relationship. I knew what a responsibility I had, and so I very quickly set out to watch all, at the time, 6 seasons of the show, and find as many mannerisms and like Stephen's walk and Emily's sense of humor and little things that I could pick from both characters that I could go, okay, if there were to be a perfect amalgamation of these two people who have such rich character history and such well-developed and nuanced things that they've built over so many years, it was so fun for me because I had so much to pull from and draw from, and the writers on that show did such an amazing job of giving me such a rich character history for Mia as well, and so much conflict, both internal and external, to play with. You know, and then I met Stephen on set, and he was doing, I forget which episode it was. I think it was the episode in the prison where he was fighting everybody the whole episode. And so he was in the hair and makeup trailer, and he was all bloody, and I walk in to talk to somebody else, and he jumps up and he runs over to me and goes, "Hi, I'm your dad." And then takes me around set and introduces me to everyone, and it was just the warmest welcome, because I knew that what a family a show like that must be by that time. And, you know, it's like being the new kid in town coming in the senior year of high school. You don't know if you're gonna make friends, and you don't know how welcome you're gonna be, and you just don't know what you're walking into. But I felt instantly at home and instantly family, and I just had the time of my life. So huge shout out to Mr. Amell, wherever he may be at this point. Hello.
Hello, I'm Erin.
Hi.
And period pieces like Old West is new to me. It's a new genre that I've begun enjoying, partly with Walker Independence, but I think that my first exposure was Deadwood. Do you like that as a genre, or did you have to do some extra homework and kind of go find pieces to watch to sort of get in the mood to see what the Old West was like?
A bit of both. I mean, I'm from Missouri. I grew up around all of that, and it's a very familiar genre to me. I played Oregon Trail as a kid. I did all that. The original version, by the way. Thank you. But obviously, whenever you're going into a character, I've been in the world of demon hunting and superheroes and all of that for almost the past 10 years. So now I'm going, okay, I'm playing a woman who's lived a very different life than mine, who's had very different experiences, And I want to know what that's like, and who's just been on the trail, you know, on the Santa Fe Trail for the last however many months, before all of these traumatic events happened to her. And it's interesting. I found some really amazing books about women on the frontier and about, you know, women who lived that life and had that experience. But also just watching different things. You know, there's things like Deadwood, and there's several, you know, female-driven westerns out there now, thankfully, that I was able to go to. But you know, the way that they'd written it, and I watched Walker as well, you know, because Jared's done such a wonderful job of bringing that family to life and making the Walker name really mean something. And so I wanted to do as much as I could to kind of bring those worlds together and see where it took. But Abby's taken on a life of her own, and I'm really curious to see what people think of the second half of the season.
Woohoo!
Hello.
Hi. I want to tell you that we do love you so much on Walker. We watch you me and my husband watch you every week. I did start watching you, of course, in Arrow and Flash. And I know that Stephen Amell is going to come back in the last season of Flash. Is there any chance maybe? I think maybe you can come back somehow?
I'm begging. I'm begging. I mean, look, I love Mia so much, and she's a character that it's a very interesting time in my life and a very interesting time in my career, and she means a lot to me. And the people that I met and the things that I learned along the way really have shaped who I am. And also, William is still missing, so we gotta find him. Because that's not fair to leave a queen child floating somewhere in the verse. But no, I would love to. I hope so. I have no idea what's in the cards. I don't know. I know they don't have very much left to film. I don't really know what's going on or what their plans are. But if they want me, I'm there in a heartbeat.
Hi there.
Hello. They gave me a spinny stool. This is not good.
My name is Adriana. I am here from Vancouver Island, and I have been watching Walker and really enjoying it. I love the history, but I love the contemporary energy. It's a wonderful marriage of those two things. My question for you is, having done sort of CW type work in Vancouver area and now doing CW work in a desert climate, are there any comparisons and contrasts you can reflect on? Or alternatively, with your working in Vancouver, were there any surprises to you moving to that part of the world for a little bit?
That's a really interesting question. I mean, something that I will say is something that I was really grateful for on Arrow. I did a show called Shadowhunters as well, that I had a similar experience. And same thing on Walker Independence. You know, you're doing shows that are not only emotional, but they can be physically taxing based on your environment, based on the things that you're doing, and you know, the physicality of the shows themselves. So it's not always the most comfortable job. It's not always the easiest job. But when you're surrounded by a crew that is so warm and fantastic and collaborative, and people that you really respect and really enjoy spending 17 hours a day with in the mud and the rain and covered in fake blood, or crying your eyes out for 10 hours, or whatever it may be that, you know, you're enduring at the moment. 40-mile-an-hour winds and sand in your face. You know, it depends. It's windy. It's called windy for a reason. I'll just put it that way. But you know, I'm so grateful to have had these crews and to have had these groups of people to share those experiences with. And I love that you noticed the little modern twist on Walker, because that's something that we're really trying to do. You know, the Western has been such a genre and such a trope for so many years, and we're doing our best to revitalize it and turn it on its head a little bit and show parts of history and tell stories that have been pushed aside and sort of sidelined by a lot of history and by a lot of media up until this point, and hopefully we'll accomplish that. Hello.
Hi. I absolutely loved you on Arrow, and just listening to you talk about how you got into character and managed to balance both of them was so perfect, because that's something I talked about when I was watching it, how well you did with that. But my question is totally different. I'm asking on behalf of my daughter. She's a huge fan of Maze Runner, and we wanted to know what your favorite memories were, or what that experience was like working on Maze Runner, because it's such an iconic movie.
Maze Runner was awesome, man. I love those guys with my whole heart. I had just turned 18 when I went to go do that movie, and it was, or maybe 19, I don't know, I just turned 18. And Dexter Darden, who played Fry Pan, I've known forever. He's one of my first and oldest friends in LA. And I'd met Dylan a few times because we both worked for MTV for a little bit. And but other than that, these guys had all done a movie together before, and I was coming in brand new little muffin, going, "Hi, I'm here for a couple of months. Let's do a helicopter crash together and not die." And we had a ball. They instantly welcomed me in, and we all during Scorch trials we all stayed in the same hotel and in the same hallway, and so nobody ever shut their doors. Everyone was just there. It was like living in a dorm. It was like being in college. It was so great because we were all working nights in the middle of the desert, tired out of our minds, probably very delirious, but had the best time and just made fun of it and made a family of it. And it was really a glorious experience. And Wes Ball, who is our director on that, is brilliant. He's one of those brilliant genius types that you might not know exactly what's going on, and you might do it a million times, but you'll get it perfect, and it's going to come together brilliantly. So I was really grateful for that. It was a wild experience, but so much fun. Again, just being out in the deserts of New Mexico all night in Lord knows what conditions, but somehow had time of my life. So thanks.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
My question's about Shadowhunters. So loved you in that show, by the way.
Thank you.
Did having the movie before the TV show, did that make it easier to draw on the character, or did that make it harder because you were trying to create your own interpretation?
It actually, for me, I think the only thing that came into play with having the movie first is wondering what the fandom reception would be. Because we had the books and they had the film, and then this was the third iteration of this story, and we were all so hopeful that the fandom would be welcoming of it and of us taking on these characters that they'd already seen someone and fallen in love with someone else playing that character. And we were all a bit trepidatious about it, I think, at first, going, well, I'm not Lily Collins. I don't know how they're going to accept me and think about that. But everyone did, and was so lovely. But I think as far as my work and the characterization of it, they made enough changes to the world, and they were trying to really start fresh when we started the TV show and go, okay, the books are one thing, the movie's another thing. Let's start over, and let's make this world ours, and let's make these characters ours. And they aged us all up to 18 instead of 16 in the books, and it changed a lot of the dynamics of the world and of the relationships that I think allowed us enough freedom to put our own stamp on it, which I was really grateful for. And I do have to say, I bumped into Lily at a thing a few years ago, and she was absolutely lovely. And Jamie Kimball Bower and I share a birthday, so it's all one little Shadowhunters family, regardless of what iteration you're a part of.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. My best friend over here made me a friend of enjoyable of your new TV show because I had never watched it before. I have a question about Shadowhunters, though.
All right.
What is a fun, memorable moment that you had from the show?
Oh, let me try and think of one that I haven't talked about a million times. I mean, one of my favorite memories that will always stick out of my head, for those who don't know, the show ended a bit before we were all ready for it to. And our producers and our networks were kind enough to allow us to come back and do a 2-episode series finale. Because we'd gotten to that point in the show where we're like, all right, we've done 3 seasons, we're probably going to do another. Let's mess up the story completely and make everybody unhappy at the end of the season. And then we weren't coming back. And they went, okay, so, we have to do something because this is sad. So they let us do a finale and fit in as much as we possibly could. And there's a big wedding that happens in that finale. And our ADs organized it where that was our last day of shooting. And so our last day on set ever, we were on our soundstage, on our set, with probably almost every person who's ever been on the show was in attendance at this wedding. So we had the whole family together. And it was really wonderful to have this happy ending and to be able to sit there and look at all these people that... I was 19 when I started that show, and by that time I was 23 and going, I grew up with these people on the show. These people were so instrumental in me becoming who I am as a person, as an artist, and it's been such a joyful experience, cast, crew, and everything, and to be able to celebrate that was really wonderful. And then we had our wrap party immediately after that. And, everyone stayed all night. Our craft service department stayed and made snacks, and the entire crew stayed, and everybody brought, bottles of champagne, and we just sat in our home, what had been our home for the last 4 years, all night. And didn't leave till the next morning at like 7 a.m. and just chatted and celebrated and danced and took tours and just sat in each other's rooms and went like, wow, all the time we spent here. And the fact that no one wanted to leave, and no one wanted it to be over. And that to me is what Shadowhunters will always be. It's this family that will always exist, and a community that will always exist, and something that I will, much like the Supernatural community, something I'll always be grateful for.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi there. You've done quite a lot of projects. Can you tell me what was your best and worst audition experiences?
Ooh, well, I don't know if it's my absolute worst, but I can tell you a funny one that I completely embarrassed myself in, which was for Shadowhunters. It was one of the rounds of producers or directors or studio, there's so many auditions when you do a show like this. And it was one of the scenes from the first episode where I'm talking to this guy and I get super adamant and frustrated and just turn and storm out, right? So I'm so focused and I really want this job and I'm super in the moment, just thinking about the scene. And I'm doing the scene and I turn around and walk away and right into a wall. In front of the producers and the network and the studio and the director and the writers and everybody, just into a wall. And I went, oh, okay, well, at least I'm, not trying to hide who I am because I'm clumsy as hell. But that was not the impression I wanted to leave in that room. But I somehow got the job, so I guess that was okay. My best audition experience, Okay, I'd forgotten about this one. So I started out doing theater, and when I was a kid, I grew up in Kansas City. And so Chicago, thank you. Chicago is the closest big town for theater and stuff like that. And there's a huge theater community in Kansas City, which I loved and worked in quite a bit. But there's a play in Chicago directed by Philip Seymour Hoffman. And I had a final callback for it, and I got to spend an hour being directed by him and working on these scenes and talking about stuff and just getting to hear how his brain works. And that is an experience I will never forget and will always be grateful for, because he was one of the greats.
Hi. You have a very long list of projects that you've been involved in, and I'm wondering if you feel that there's a commonality amongst all the characters that you've played, or if you seek out different characters and different roles that are very, very different from who you are. And if it is a common thread, what characteristic or thread would that be?
That's so interesting that you ask that, because a promise I made to myself when I started this career is that I wanted to do a little bit of everything. That's why I love my job, is because I get to live a million different lives and see how different people work and try and figure out, okay, you have the A to Z in the script, but then I get to figure out the why and get to put that in and do all of that, which I love. But, there has been a commonality to a lot of the characters I played recently, and, I think it's representative of the industry currently, and this, when I first kind of got into television, was the first kind of resurgence of the multi-dimensional, empowered female character, which hadn't always been a thing, and thankfully is pretty much now across the board. But that was relatively new when I was first kind of diving my way into this, or at least the resurgence of it. And I've been grateful for having that be a consistent thread in the characters that I've played, be it in 1870 and 2040 or in 2022. I've suddenly stumbled into characters that try and break the mold and have a lot of conviction in what they believe and in loyalty to the people they love. But, you look at things like The Stand, for example, where I played the personification of hedonism and, gluttony, basically.
Atta girl.
That's what I do. It's, Stephen King, what else do you expect? But you gotta switch it up sometimes.
I have a question for you.
I have an answer.
Man, I hope so, because it's tricky. Now, I'm curious, because, and you guys may have touched on this a little bit, but period piece.
Yeah.
Challenge from a production standpoint, right? How have you found that affecting the show's efficiency from a production standpoint?
So we were extremely fortunate that our pilot and then our next 2 episodes, so our first 3 episodes were directed by a brilliant man named Larry Tang.
Right, sure.
Who is one of the most fantastic directors I've ever worked with, but he was so committed not only to the show, but to creating the show in a sustainable way and trying to figure out, we shot our pilot in 9 days.
Which, just for people who are doing the math at home, pilots often get 3 weeks to be shot. They get enormous amounts of time. So 9 days is not much time at all.
No, we had 9 days to shoot a Western.
Yeah, which is also brutal. Horses don't necessarily do what you want them to do when you want to do them,
Nor do actors.
No,
most of the
that's
time.
for darn sure.
But no, and so having that as the precedent, that really helped because we have we have a Western town that's ours, where our sets inside and outside, most of them are practical. We can walk out of one building down the street and in somewhere else and around the corner.
I have a quick question, just to clarify. Do you walk or do you mosey? It being a Western town, I just feel like it seems like it should be more appropriately.
Matt Barr moseys.
Oh yeah.
Matt Barr moseys. Abby walks because, well, she's a walker.
I teed that one right up. Didn't even do it on purpose. That's how good it is. So I have not visited the set of your show, but it looks fantastic, and I'm curious if it seems to me, I've done a little bit of I've done a Western before, and there's something about it that innately helps the actor, I think, in that you're, especially given the way you describe that set, you guys own this area. It's a 360-degree world you live in. That's got to be an asset in terms of trying to execute the mindset of these characters in this story.
It's the best thing, and it's the most fun as an actor too, because not only, our cast is amazing and our crew is incredible and we all get on so well, but then when you're wearing the corset makes you move differently and you carry yourself differently, and then having this amazing wardrobe and you walk on set and you're in the world, you're fully immersed in this entire landscape, and then it's just play. It is just fun, because you get to go, okay, we've got this great story to tell, we've got these amazing people, these amazing characters, and this playground to be in. It's the best job in the world.
That's awesome. And has there been anything that you have found challenging because of the nature of it being a period piece?
Yes.
Say no more.
No, the shoes that women wore in that time were not made for comfort or for expeditious movement. I think they were made to hinder women, so we had to be slow and not do much. Most of the time we're wearing Doc Martens under our dresses.
Right, so you have your, so are if this, you got to put them on for the wide shots, but for everything else you wear the comfort shoes?
Exactly. But no, the one thing I learned very quickly, in the pilot we had a historically accurate sized covered wagon that we had to do a scene in. And so when you put me and a 6-foot-something dude, a piano, and everyone's life belongings inside a wagon of that size and try and shoot a scene, you learn how tough life was in the 1800s and how small that really was. We couldn't even get the cameras inside the wagon with us. We had to put the cameras outside. There was absolutely no way. The cameras were outside the wagon the whole time.
So I imagine there's a learning curve for the crew too, because they're discovering the same thing you're discovering, which is, okay, the vista of this land we have, right? It's gorgeous, but there's going to be challenges to executing this, and so it's sort of sounds like a process of discovery even with the crew, which is kind of cool. Because you guys are all growing up together, so to speak, in this world.
Exactly, and that's what made it so fun, is, seeing from the pilot to the end of the episode 13, we were just dancing at that point. We had it down to a science with our town and our system, and everybody was moving and shaking and doing their thing. And it was, it's something I love about television, is that you get a chance to really grow with the family and the crew and the cast and become this sort of symbiotic being.
Yeah, especially when you're starting at the beginning. It's great that you guys are, that Matt Barr has sort of already come from the Walker universe, and it's cool that there's a little bit of connective tissue from that mothership, so to speak, over to you guys, and now you guys are all part of the original Gangsters of this world. It's awesome. You have one questioner there. I don't want to keep you from it. So
Well, let's do it. Hello.
It's okay, Rich. My question is, everybody has a quote that they live by. What is yours?
Ooh, that's interesting. The one that I always go back to, it's a Henry David Thoreau quote. That's go confidently in the direction of your dreams, live the life you have imagined. And I've always loved it because I think it's applicable no matter what it is you want to do with your life. If you set out every day trying to do what you want to do with your life and live the life that will make you the happiest, eventually you're going to make progress toward that. You know, if you believe it, if you manifest it, if you see it, if you do it, you're at least on the way.
That's outstanding.
It's a great quote.
Words to live by. We're so freaking lucky to have this woman on the circuit with us now. The show's fantastic. I mean it. Thank you so much. So great to have you.
Thank you for having me, and thank you
Absolutely.
for my
Ladies and gentlemen, Cat McNamara. Nice. I have no idea what's next.
We're going to take a little break and come back with more action.
All right, take a little break. We'll be right back with more action.